Italy and also in Germany to oppose the nuclear policy. More in this report.
Anti-nuclear activists have redecorated the city of Rome with yellow banners urging the Italian public to vote this weekend in a crucial referendum on the future of nuclear energy in Italy. From the Villa Borghese Park, with its view to the Vatican and across town of the Collegium, activists have hung anti-nuclear banners and spent the last few days handing out flyers asking people to say yes to an end to nuclear energy. Italian Premier Silvio Berlusconi, however, would rather Italians head to the beach than the polls this weekend. Referendums on the ballot want to block the Italian leaders' plans to revive the nuclear energy program and privatize the water supply. Another would throw out a law that gives Berlusconi and other top officials some protection from prosecution. Berlusconi pledged in 2009 to revive nuclear power to help wean the country from expensive foreign oil and natural gas. To Germany, Chancellor Angela Merkel on Thursday said Germany would become the first major country to move away from nuclear power. The campaign to abandon nuclear power gained momentum following the disaster at Japan's Fukushima nuclear power plant, which was partially destroyed by an earthquake and tsunami on the 11th of March. The Chancellor admitted Japan's nuclear crisis had been their turning point. The Chancellor decided earlier this month to halt Germany's nuclear energy production by 2022. The move gave her a small popularity boost in a country that long has had a strong anti-nuclear movement. In France, several hundred demonstrators and activists gathered in central Paris on Saturday to voice their opposition to France's nuclear policy and mark the 3-month anniversary of the Fukushima nuclear accident. Some Japanese citizens joined the demonstration and spoke of the ongoing crisis in Japan. Greenpeace activists staged a performance of black-clad marching automatons who covered their mouths, ears and eyes, which was intended to suggest that the nuclear industry ignored the problems associated with the energy source. France was among the few countries to continue developing nuclear power after the Chernobyl disaster. It's more dependent on its nuclear energy than any other country, and its companies market nuclear technology around the world, including to China, Japan and the United States.
Welcome back. After around 100 countries, European countries, declaring that they will start strengthening their national nuclear regulators and also improve the safety measures of their nuclear facilities, demos erupted around Italy, France, and also in Germany, opposing the nuclear policy at first hand. And to discuss this very critical issue, we have with us here live in our studio Mr. Mohamed El-Alfy, the political and the economic analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
First of all, the opposition towards the nuclear policy is clear in France, Italy, and Germany. It seems that while in other countries, they are taking other measures.
Yeah.
So does that represent or reflect that each country have its own perception of its nuclear policy?
After Japan crisis due to what happened in Japan, they are afraid, they have a bad history regarding also what happened in Ukraine 1986, and they would like to stop relying on the nuclear stations in Europe. But for example, the last statement by Angela Merkel, she said we will stop relying on the nuclear stations by 2022. Mm-hmm. And for example, Germany, they are taking 22% from the electricity needs inside Germany from the nuclear stations. And at the other side, in France, more than 90% from the electricity needs from nuclear stations. They can't cross out all these stations in one day, especially in this financial international crisis. And But the protesters in the streets will not stop because they are afraid. But also they should understand, if they would like to produce or to create a new policy or policies to get them needs from the electricity in this difficult times, especially they can't finance this. If we will say, for example, we'll take France, take more than 90% from the electricity needs from nuclear stations. So they need at least in the first stage to invest more than 100 billion euros. They can't do it now, but it can be, they can do it in several stages.
Right. To our understanding, there is, of course, agencies to monitor the nuclear facilities all over the world. There are rules for that. Yeah. There is the IAEA, which is the most prominent one. So how come still fears are existing in spite of the dire need for the nuclear facilities, in spite of all that happened, the tsunami disasters and other disasters, Chernobyl and everything, there is still the need to build nuclear facilities in order, like you said, to generate electricity. Yeah. So why can this process be controlled in spite of the fact that there is the IAEA, for example, which is monitoring the facilities? Why do disasters still exist?
These disasters, as you said, and what happened to tsunami crisis, destroys this nuclear station in Japan, and if they will process new policies to secure all these stations, of course these stations can't avoid the natural crisis, and of course the human mistakes it can be happen anytime, and the Europeans feel they are not safe anymore after what happened, especially in Japan, because the highest security was in Japan, not in Europe. So if this happened in Japan, what will happen in Europe? And they will face also a shortage if they will reduce the activities of these nuclear stations. They will face a shortage in the electricity. So it's difficult.
Can we understand from what you're saying now? Are you trying to say that it is because there are not the non-existence, there is no existence for the more strict rules, enough strict rules by the International Atomic Energy Agency? This is the reason why the nuclear facilities cannot be able to stand up to natural disasters, for example?
That is depend on the how the Europeans, the people, can understand the situation.
Is this questioning the credibility of the IAEA, for example?
Unfortunately, in the last 5 years, most of the international organization, including this IAEA, the people can't trust most statements by this, because this all these statements by this organization belongs to the business of big companies. So the IAEA is not building the strategy of these companies. The companies create the strategy and the policies for these international organizations. So they can't give a statement. For example, for the EU countries, after 10 years, you should stop rely on the nuclear stations. They can't, because the commercial sector in this field will not allow to them to issue this statement. IAEA, of course, if you will compare between IAEA and UN and Security Council, the commercial organizations control the political and the technical statements for all these organizations.
Okay, what about countries like, for example, most of them talking about Iran?
Yeah,
it's one of the most hot spots, and they're ignoring Israel, for example.
Yeah.
Well, compared to Iran,
yeah,
it could take the first seat. So what about Israel? We don't witness no demos protesting against nuclear facilities in Israel and threatening the whole
in Israel,
region.
I think more than 240 head for that is what.
Despite that, also there is no nuclear inspection. Also.
Yes, then, there is no nuclear inspection in Israel. There is no banks inspection in Israel, and also we should, I think all our viewers knows well that is Israel here, they implement Israel here to be against the Middle East countries and to control the Middle East countries by the Israeli forces, not to create a country live in peace. So that is, so there is, for these reasons, there is no nuclear inspections.
But peace or no peace, we are talking about a safety problem. Threatening the inhabitants of the region.
Safety programs or security for the humanity in the Middle East, no one is talking about it.
Why?
Because they didn't care about us. They do care only about the safety programs for the EU, for the Europeans, and for the States and for Japan. But for us, no one do care about us. We should do care about self, and we must find solutions by ourselves to secure ourselves.
But since we're undergoing a bunch of changes in the region, and there is a drastic, speedy, and radical change, according to the Arab nation, do you think the situation is going to change and someone is going to protest against nuclear facilities in Israel?
I think the situation is going to be changed by the next year, and Israel will be under pressure, even if the international community supporting Israel. The most people in the Middle East wake up suddenly and they will refuse this. And if we return back to the second part of your question, why they put Iran under pressure? Of course, there is they would like to secure and to save the security of Israel. So they are afraid if Iran will produce nuclear weapons. So they would like to save the resources of oil in the GCC countries. They would like to secure it, and they would like to secure Israel at the same time. So for these reasons, they put Iran under pressure, and it's you can expect one day, if Iran is not going to obey all these countries, military intervention can be done to destroy the nuclear stations in Iran.
And what is the reason? What is the secret behind Israel's non-compliance to any nuclear inspection? Is there any justified, credible reason that
if you will try to find the reasonable reasons, who implant Israel? The EU countries implant Israel. And who is saving the finance support and the military support for them? EU and states. And for these reasons, we will one day will not find nuclear inspection in Israel. And as I said 5 minutes ago, Israel here is not to live in peace, or not. They implant Israel here not to they are not here to live in peace or to have a natural life for them people. No, they are here as a Western soldier. They can achieve the Western needs inside this area. That is the EU or the Western soldier in here, near to our borders, to destroy any progress for the other countries in the Middle East. They need us as it is.
Well, going back to the demonstrations in the European countries, in Italy, France, and Germany, and maybe other countries are going to show other demonstrations. How do you analyze the nature of these protests? Are they a fruit of the momentum of what's happening now, or is it going to be a new wave of a new protests opposing the nuclear policy? How do you see the protests?
I think new waves of protesters will continue inside the EU countries, and they will concentrate to force them countries, especially after the German statement to stop rely on the nuclear, to stop the nuclear activities by 2022. They are trying to forcing our countries to issue a statement to determine a time to stop the nuclear activities. They would like to look for a new clean electricity and safe electricity. So they have, if they need that, they have to invest more money, and they have to look for the natural resources to generate electricity. And this file is very important for the Egyptian economic brains to use this file also. Here we can create a great sector to export electricity by rely on the wind. We can build the wind stations and solar energy stations and natural stations to export electricity. But first we have to attract the Europeans to invest in this.
But don't we have in the High Dam in Aswan and Hurghada
yes,
and the Red Sea?
Yes, but this one is not enough for the Egyptians. But we have to attract the others in the EU countries to invest more in this sector more and more, and to export to them from the generate electricity from these stations. And all this sector also, after if we will success to use this file to achieve progress to our economy in this sector, that means we will success to save 100,000 of jobs and 100,000 of families. I hope if there is one specialist person in the cabinet listening to us now,
Minister of Electricity.
Yes. I hope if he will do care, or if he has a plan for future to open negotiations with the Europeans directly now for the next 10 years to open a new channel for investment in Egypt. I wish if they are thinking in this way to achieve something for our country. So if we would like to get investments, we have to open channels for investment.
Yeah, France also sarcastically is among the few countries to develop the nuclear energy after the Chernobyl disaster. So how is it the government is going to react to the density of the demonstrations, especially that they are moving in track for developing with the nuclear energy facilities? How do you analyze that? Is it shortage of resources of energy? Is it overconfidence in the safety procedures or the safety measures to try to control the nuclear dangers in case of a natural disaster or something?
France now, the officials will not give the protesters a clear statement, because the elections will be in 2013. And they would like the governor, the party would like to success in this election. So they will try to give a cloudy statements to the protests and until they will see.
Do you think they'll hold?
Yes, they will hold, and will try to play political games with the protesters. But in France, the situation is very difficult. More than 90% from the electricity needs for France they get it from the nuclear stations. They can't change. At least if they would like to stop the activities, they need 30 years, and they have to invest more than trillion euros to change this kind, and there is no natural resources they can lay on it.
So it's lack of natural resources. Yeah. Let's quickly, because we have very little time on our hands, go to Germany.
Yeah.
Germany had a different stance. The governing coalition said earlier this year that it will shut down its country's nuclear power plants by the year 2020. This was prompted by the nuclear disaster, the tsunami disaster in Japan. So how do you see the German decision? Is it also according to political motivations?
Yes, I agree with you. And the needs is only 22%. They can save it via traditional stations working by fuel.
So the situation is different.
The situation is different.
Germany,
Yes, here 22% they can replace it by traditional stations working by fuel, and in France there is 90%. From the electricity they get it from nuclear. They can't change in one day. They need at least 30 years in France to change the situation. But also if you compare 22%, they said after 13 years they will shut down the nuclear activities. 22%, they need 13 years to replace. The matter is not easy. They need to invest a billion of euros to change.
Right.
Such a situation.
Right, Mr. Mohamed El-Alfy, the political and the economic analyst, would like to thank you very much for your valuable time. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to discuss Italy also. So I guess on this note, we'll have to end it here with Around the Globe. Thank you very much for joining us, and do join us again next week. Bye-bye.